Today is 16th October 2025 and we are going to start Paripurna current affairs discussion. Today also we are going to discuss seven important articles. The World Food Day, periodic level force participation, rare earth element, IUCN red list updates, Duran line, UN Convention on Refugee and India Middle East corridor. These are the seven articles we'll discuss. Let's start with the first article, which is World Food Day 2025. See, 16th October, why in the news? It is because 16th October is celebrated as a World Food Day. Now, some things we need to know about this World Food Day, that is World Food Day. First thing is that why it is celebrated. Remember, it is celebrated to actually mark the foundation of Food and Agriculture Organization. You must be aware about this particular organization. This is UN body which promote the food security, nutrition and the agricultural development across the world. The foundation of this particular organization in 1945 on 16th October is marked as World Food Day. That's the first point we need to know in this. Second, in 2025, the theme of World Food Day, most of the time UPSC does not ask about the theme, but these themes sometimes becomes keyword for us to write some answers in mains. For example, this year the keyword is, or the theme is, hand in hand for better food and better future. Now if you see, this is very important, you can say the very good phrase, hand in hand for the better food and better future. Basically this is talking about importance of cooperation and collaboration between the different countries, different organizations, so that we can achieve what? Better food and better future for every one of us. So this is the theme of World Food Day 2025. So actually in this news this much is only important, but let's also cover about the India's food security. India's food security. What is the condition of India's food security and what are the important steps taken by the government to ensure the food security in India? We'll discuss some important initiative and the initiative of government. First is very important, National Food Security Act 2013. This provides the legal right to food, and it provides almost around 67% of Indian population almost free of cost food or the subsidized food. Okay, the second important scheme is Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. If you remember, this scheme was launched during COVID-19. At that point of time we were providing free ration, government was providing free ration to the poor household. And in 2024, government decided to extend it for next 5 years, right? So that is Prime Minister Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. Third is Prime Minister Poshan Abhiyan. Under this, the nutrition of children, lactating mothers and the pregnant mothers are focused. Midday meal is also part of this particular abhiyan, or you can say the movement, midday meal. So cooked foods are provided to children under this particular scheme. The fourth scheme is rice fortification. What is mean by the fortification? See, fortification is the process of addition of micronutrients and the nutrients in the food. For example, if we talk about the rice contains some micronutrient as well as the protein, carbohydrate. Suppose we want to add in this rice kernel some micronutrient, for example iron, so that artificial addition of iron as in the form of micronutrient in the rice kernel will be called as the rice fortification. Now those people who will eat these rice kernel will get this micronutrient iron through the rice. Okay, so this is the process to tackle the micronutrient deficiency also. Okay, so this is called as the rice fortification, or we do this fortification for other product also. You must have heard about the iodine salt. Here the addition of iodine in the salt is also a form of fortification. Okay, so these are the example of fortification. Okay, the fifth scheme is the mission for Atmanirbharta in pulses. What is this scheme? As you know, India is a major consumer of pulses. However, we largely depend on import for the pulses, right? So through this scheme, government wants to reduce the import bill and bring the self-reliance in the pulse production in the pulses, right? So this is the scheme. So what we see here is that these are the most important scheme, 5 important scheme, and in GS3, this particular article is very important in GS3, where the food security is one of the topic. Okay, so this article is going to be helpful in the GS3 food security topic. Okay, let's coming to the next article, that is the periodic labor force survey. Recently, periodic labor force survey has been report for the September month was launched by whom? So since the report news is that the report has been launched, September month report has been launched by NSO, National Statistical Office. It comes under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So NSO have released this particular report. Let's discuss the key finding, and before that along with the key concept involved in this particular article. So periodic labor force participation survey, this is the survey conducted by whom? Who conducts? This is the first question. It is conducted by NSO, that is National Statistical Organization under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. The second important thing is that what are the key data released? Key data released under this particular scheme, or you can say the survey. The first important data is labor force participation rate. Now first of all, what is labor force participation rate? See, out of the total population, if this is the total population, out of this population, what is the population which is available for work? That will be called as the labor force. This is the total population. This is the total population. Out of this, how much percentage are part of labor force? Now who will be the labor force? Labor force will be the age group of 15 years to 64 years, or it can be the 60 year, right? So this population can be called as the labor force. So it's nothing but the working age population out of the total population will be called as the labor force. Now labor force participation rate would be how much percentage of labor force, that is the working age population, is engaged, right? So that would be the labor force participation rate. In India, currently it is around 55% of the population can be considered as the labor force, right? So the labor force participation rate is the 55%. It means that out of the total population, 55% of the people are available for work. That would be called as the labor force participation rate. The second important concept is worker population ratio. Worker population ratio. Now, what is worker population ratio? See, the labor force participation rate is calculated based on the how much percentage of the people out of what out of labor force, how many people or the how much percentage are working. However, worker population ratio, we see the number of worker out of total population. However, here in this case we take only labor force. In this case we take the total population. Okay, so that is the difference. So what is this worker population ratio currently? It is 52.4% as per the recent report. So these are the two important concepts with respect to the periodic labor force participation. Third concept is female labor force participation rate. It is the measure of number of women out of the total working age population. How much percentage of women are out of total working age population are working? Currently this data is 34%. Okay, see this data you have to remember sometime in gs3 we have the topic employment, right? In gs3 employment topic is there. In these data are useful. 34% female labor force participation rate, labor force participation rate is 55%. At least you should remember these two data, 55% and 34%. Other data is not that important. The fourth point related to this is unemployment rate. This is also you need to remember. The unemployment rate currently is 5.2%. At least you should know that it is 5%. Okay, so three data you have to remember here. That is the labor force participation rate, it is 55%, female labor force participation rate for 34%, and unemployment rate, that is 5%. Okay, so this was about the periodic labor force participation survey. Next article is related to the rare earth elements in India. Now, why it is in the news? As in yesterday's lecture also we discussed about this particular issue, that the supply of why it is in news, supply of rare earth element is highly concentrated in few countries, especially China. And recently China have imposed the restriction on the export of rare earth element. Now, before going into this topic, let's understand why this particular topic is important. Why important? See, from our exam point of view, this is important for GS3. It is important for GS2 also. In GS3 economy, as we know, rare earth elements are critical for the clean technology and the high economic growth. So in economy it can be asked, in GS2 also it can be asked from the geopolitical point of view, like the how rare earth elements and critical minerals are impacting the geopolitics between the different countries. Also it can be linked with the GS1 also, geography, how it is a mineral, right? And the resource, the distribution of this rare earth element in GS1 geography, we have the topic of important minerals and their distribution. Okay, so this particular article can be linked with the GS1, GS2 as well as GS3. Now let's understand what is this rare earth element and why it is important. Okay. First of all, what is rare earth element? So the first word is that it is rare. Does that mean it's rare in the earth? It's very rarely available? No. The answer is no. it's not rare. However, these elements are found in very small amount, very small amount in different minerals. Okay, so that is, it's not rare, but its availability in particular mineral is in very small amount. Okay. Now, a second aspect is that why these are important. Why these are important? See, these are important because they form a critical aspect of electronics, in the clean technologies and other high valued techs, right? So they form a critical part of these kind of products, or we can say that the sectors. Now, in India, if you see in India, why these particular, the availability of rare earth element. See, one mineral which is India is rich in that mineral, that is monazite. Monazite. And monazite is a mineral which contains rare earth element. Now, this monazite, which contains the rare earth elements like cerium, niobium, and other such minerals are available. This monazite is available in India in the coastal region, both eastern and the western coastal area like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh. This hugely available, and from this monazite, rare earth element can be extracted. Okay, so this monazite mineral we need to remember. Along with this, what India have taken the initiatives for this particular rare earth element. So the major initiative government of India have taken the first is National Mineral Exploration Policy 2016, which promotes the private participation in this particular sector. Okay, so that we can invite the more investment, they can do the exploration and those things. Second is the National Critical Mineral Mission. National Critical Mineral Mission, which actually provides around 4,300 crore of budget to increase the exploration, mining, processing, recovery. These all aspect of rare earth element production, and these all things are covered under this. Third important initiative is the Kabil. Please remember this initiative, that is nothing but the Khanij Bidesh India Limited. Khanij, this B means Bidesh. Bidesh means foreign. Basically, this organization was established in 2019, and its responsibility is to explore the minerals outside India in the foreign countries, right? So that we can have the strategic joint ventures, and together we can explore and mine. Okay, so this was the article related to the rare earth element, what it is, why it is important in India, where it is available, especially in the monazite form, and what initiative government have taken. Coming to the next article, that is the IUCN Red List update. Now, recently IUCN, why it is a news, and this particular article can be linked with. First, let's understand why it is in the news. It is a news because of IUCN have updated its red list, right? So in this update, they have shifted the status of Indian birds from one category to another. See, this is very minute information, like they, for example, Indian corsair. This is one bird species. Earlier it was least concern, now it has been transferred to the near threatened. Now this is minute information, we cannot remember this much, right? So that is not very important, but what is important here is that about IUCN and about the red list. So this particular article is important for the environment in the prelims examination, as well as the in GS3 environment for the mains point of view. Okay, so this is important from the environmental angle. Now let's discuss about this particular article. Here we will discuss first about IUCN and red list. IUCN red list. Okay. Okay, see, the IUCN is an international organization which releases the red list. Red list means what? It actually maps the different species of animals and plants which are under the threat. They have divided into different categories of threat. For example, IUCN categories. Let's list them. IUCN categories. See, there are important categories. For example, if we come from least to high, see, some of the species are not even evaluated. Not evaluated. It's not possible, right? All species are evaluated, not evaluated. So they mark it as a NE. Some are not have available enough data, so they call it as a data deficient. DD. Data is not available about that particular species. Then comes the least concern. That is, the concern is less. Then further, if we increase the vulnerability, or we can say the threat of extinction, then next comes the near threatened. Next comes the vulnerable. Next comes endangered. Then critically endangered. Then extinct in wild. Extinct in wild means what? That these species are not found in the forest or in the wild. They are only surviving in captive. Captive means what? They are surviving some zoos or some rehabilitation center, some in the protected lab, or somewhere in such places, right? Last comes the extinct. That means they are no longer found. So these are the different categories, and this is the increase in the vulnerability. Vulnerability is increasing. Okay. Now, so these are the different categories of IUCN. And this data, whether the status is updated at least twice a year. The status is updated. And from Indian point of view, the Indian government actually recognizes them. We are the member of IUCN, and then we recognize their status, and we include that in our Wildlife Protection Act 1972, as well as the CITES. CITES is an international body again, which also takes the data from the IUCN to list and categorize the different species based on their threat level. Okay, so that way this IUCN red list is very important. Next article is the Duran line. First of all, Duran line, why it came in the news? It came in the news because of recent conflict between the Pakistan and Afghanistan. Okay, so it is in news because of the Pakistan and Afghanistan is having the conflict around this border. Now, so this particular article is important from the prelims point of view. If you see that international relation questions are comes, for example, they can ask for the match the following of Duran line, Redcliffe line, and some other lines are there. So there it can be used to create the questions. However, direct mains question is very difficult, but in the prelims this question can be asked. Now let's understand about this Duran line. First of all, what it is? It is the boundary. It is the what it is? It is the disputed boundary between the Afghanistan and Pakistan. Please remember this. See this line. See, this is Pakistan. This is Afghanistan. This border is called as the Duran line. Clear? Now, see the current status of this particular border. Pakistan considered this as the legal boundary between Pakistan and Afghanistan. However, Afghanistan does not validate the legality of Duran line. So they call it as disputed line. Okay, so that is the current status, that is the issue. Now the history of this particular Turan line, we read this in our modern history also. In 1893, the person Sir Mortimer Durand, sir, that name is not important. In 1893, this line was drawn by the Britishers between the that time India and the Afghanistan. That much we need to know. Much detail is not important from our exam point of view. Next article is United Nations Refugee Convention. Why it came in the news? It is in the news because of recently our Honorable Home Minister Amit Shah ji have said that we need to distinguish between the refugees and infiltrators. Refugees and infiltrators. Now, what is the difference between them? Basically, refugees can be the legal or the legally recognizable, the people or people who get persecuted in one particular country and they had fled to another country due to the compulsion. That person can be called as the refugee. However, infiltrators can have the malicious objective to enter to other country in order to disrupt their security situations. So those people can be called as the infiltrators. As per the Home Minister, we need to distinguish between this refugee and the infiltrators, right? That is the reason this particular news came in. This particular article came in the news. Now it is important for our exam. In which part? It is important in international relation, as well as we can also use in GS4 ethics question. See, there is one topic in GS4 which is the ethics in international relations. Here it can be used. And secondly, sometimes in case studies also you will find that the questions come on the issue of refugees. So that point of time also the ethical dilemma point can be mentioned here, that this point can be used as ethical dilemma, where we can suggest that we need to segregate the refugees and the infiltrators. We need to have the different approach. So that way this particular article is important for our mains and the prelims exam. Now let's understand this particular convention, which is very important for our examination. See, UN, the convention is UN Refugee Convention. This is called as the UN Refugee Convention. Very important. This often comes in the news. So let's see what it is first. See, this is a convention which was adopted in 1951. Okay, it was adopted in 1951, and this was enforced in 1967 through one protocol. See, earlier also it was enforced, but its mandate was broadened in 1967 protocol. So both together, these two create one core of the refugees, to ensure the rights of the refugee. Okay, so what this is the origin of this particular the convention, and what is the objective of this particular convention? In order to ensure the rights of refugees. As I explained already, who are the refugees, and this forms the actually it takes the inspiration from Article 14 of what? Article 14 of UN Declaration of Human Rights of 1948. In Article 4, it takes inspiration from this particular article. In India, if we talk about from Indian point of view, in India have not signed, first please remember, not signed this convention nor this protocol. So we are not signatory of this particular convention and the protocol. So does that mean that India does not ensure the right of the refugee? The answer is no. Actually, our Article 21 talks about the right to life and liberty. So Article 21, in some of the Supreme Court judgments, they have recognized the rights of refugee. Definitely it have some reasonable restrictions, but if someone is getting persecuted in their country, we cannot force them to go to their country when their life is under the threat. So uh, uh, under this article it covers this rights of the refugee also, but again there are reasonable restriction which can be applied in this particular case also. Here one important concept which comes is the non refoulement. This we need to know. Non-refoulement, this principle of non-refoulement is that one country should not expel the other people, the people who came to your country because of the ethnic or the any kind of persecution they are facing in their country. You should not force them to go back to their country where they are having the threat of their life. So this principle is called as the principle of non-refoulement. Okay, let's go to the next article, that is the Indian Middle East Economic Corridor. Europe Economic Corridor. India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor. From this term you must have understood this is one economic corridor, that is the corridor means that there will be one the linkage between the different country, in the form connectivity will be established between the different country, and from this you can clearly see that it is going to link India, Middle East and the Europe. That means it is a you can say that the trans country or transcontinental also, right? It is joining different continents, Europe and Asia, right? So it's a economic corridor. Why it came in the news? It is in the news because of the conflicts and the instability which is there in the Middle East, and because of this this particular project is not able to progress with the speed it should progress, right? So that is the news. And where it is important for us? It is important in GS2, very very important in GS2 international relation, this particular article. Now let's understand about this particular first let's understand IMEC, what it is, and then we'll go to the its significance from the mains point of view. So the first thing is that who are the member countries of this particular initiative? The member countries, please remember: India, Saudi Arabia, UAE, US, France, Germany, Italy and the European Union. These are the countries who are member of it. Second is that how it passes. See this. It links the Mumbai in India through the UAE, Saudi Arab, Israel's Haifa, and ultimately goes to Greece. As you know, this is the Europe. So basically it's joining India with the Europe. Now here different routes are there. For example, this is the sea route and this will be the rail route. See the rail route and then again the sea route. So this is the multimodal connectivity also. Okay, so this is the about this particular article. And next is that the origin, it was signed in the G20 summit which took place in 2023 where in New Delhi. So in this summit this particular initiative was taken. Now key component of this particular initiative is that the connectivity, first is the physical infrastructure will be created like the railways, ports. These are the important pillar. Second is that it will also include the digital infrastructure, the digital connectivity. Third, it will also create the energy corridors. So this is very very ambitious huge ambitious project. Now, if you see the significance of this particular initiative, significance is very important here. See, we can see from the geo-economic point of view. From the geo-economic point of view, this initiative is important as it can ensure for India, we are talking on the significance from Indian point of view. From geo-economic point of view, our energy security is highly dependent on in the Middle East. If this corridor gets success, it can help to achieve our energy security. Second, it can also generate a lot of employment opportunities as well as the facilitate our trade with the Middle East as well as the Europe. Okay, that is the from geo-economic point of view. Next is the geostrategic point of view. See, many experts are saying that this initiative is to counter the Chinese Belt and Road initiative, right? So geostrategically also we can counter the China's influence in the Middle East and as well as the global supply chain. Then this collaboration can secure our critical infrastructure, especially in the Middle East. For example, Chabahar port and other such critical infrastructure which are present in the Middle East. So that is from the geo-economic point of view. And then comes the other aspect like the geopolitically also, as we are able to counter the Chinese dominance growing in the Middle East and the other in the those areas, right? So that way also it can help. Other aspect is that it can boost the digital connectivity. It can boost the digital connectivity. It is important for supply chain resilience, and then it is also important for the India's influence in the region. Okay, so that way this is very, very significant. However, recently we are facing some challenges. What are the major challenges? The major challenge number one is the conflicts in the Middle East. For example, the Israel Hamas issue, and then there are some second is the non-state actors who are active. For example, Houthi rebels, Hezbollah and other such a non-state actor are presenting threat. Then the third is the huge investment requirement. Investment is very high. Fourth is limited coverage. Some important countries like Egypt are not part of it. Egypt, Iran, Turkey, these countries are not part of this particular initiative. That also limits its success. Okay, in way forward or conclusion, what we can say that India needs to partner with the other country to keep this economic projects out of the conflicts, right? So we need to find out the middle ground where we can achieve our economic and strategic goals despite such disputes. The second aspect is that facilitating the resolution of this dispute. For example, this Abraham Accord is there, right? Abraham Accord is there. If it gets successful, it's nothing but the mechanism to establish peace between the Israel and the Arab countries like UAE. However, due to the recent Israel the intervention in the Palestine, success of this particular accord looks very, very difficult, right? But we can approach such other mechanism to establish peace. For example, yesterday I think in the previous article we discussed like there is the sign of peace can be established due to the recent the Trump initiative in those to establish peace. So that is the one. Third is that the investment facilitation. For this we can engage the private sector as well as the diversification of the investors, that like we can make the other countries also part of it, so that its geographical reach and as well as the investment reach can increase. So such a way forward we can write in this particular topic. Okay, so this was today's discussion of Paripurna. Thank you so much.